Hey, it's Doug Cunnington here, and we have Rob Atkinson also. So we're starting actually, I don't even know how many parts it's going to be, but a bit of a coaching series. So Rob and I know each other a little bit, and we actually meet in a mastermind group every couple weeks. So we know each other pretty well. And after some time, it looked like Rob had an opportunity to actually, implement some systems to help improve his process. So that's sort of the overall goal, and we'll just see how this goes. And one of the things that really, attracted me to this project and to do some of these coaching sessions is, Rob's already seeing some good success, and we could look back at his success story from a few weeks back and see that he knows how to build a site, he knows how to make money, but now he needs to make sure that things are running effectively and efficiently. And that's kind of what we're going to work on. So, Rob, will you just give a little intro on yourself and some of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so thanks for the introduction, Doug. So my name is Rob Atkinson, and I'm actually out here in Thailand. I've been here with my wife since early December, and what I'm trying to do is build a system where I can build niche sites, somewhat on autopilot, and just keep, producing them out. Eventually, get to a point where, I'm more managing the system. I've had one website that's doing particularly well the end of March, and it was a little bit over $2,000. But can I replicate that going forward and scale it up? So that's me.
Very good. Okay. And, one of the key things that we should probably go over now, just to recap, we actually talked a little bit previously, so I do have some idea on what you're looking to do, but just to summarize it in just a couple sentences, what would your goal be? Um, you know, Short to medium term, and even long term if you are looking out that far.
Yeah, so 6 to 12 months, I'd like to have a system in place where um, I'm still controlling the keyword research, and then every step of the way in the niche site process is basically outsourced to someone and just follows a very tight knit uh, path.
Sure.
And then probably about a year to 2 years down the road, I'm looking to automate it to the next level and actually get myself out of the keyword research where again, I'm just managing the steps in the process with all these workers.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, and that makes sense, and I think we could definitely, you know, take on some specific areas in there to help improve, you know, things across the board, and to be able to get those systems in place. So that said, you've been doing this for a little while. Actually, how long have you been working on niche sites and stuff like that?
Uh, I started my first niche site actually spring of 2013.
Okay. Okay. So you've gone through probably a couple failures, a couple pretty good ones, some ups and downs. So you have a pretty good idea of the process and how you do it. So where, either in the process or in the setting up of systems, where do you see any gaps that you may have that we need to address?
So the first one is like the keyword research, right? So I just kind of go into it, and each time I'm starting fresh. And we can talk about maybe why that's happening for me, but uh, it's just sort of go from this site to look at these people's PBNs, and I'm just all over the place with a niche. But then a big struggle is also taking this keyword research into a process and then hiring out the writers. Each time I'm sending a template to these writers, it's different. So there's a lot of wasted energy in the back and forth. And then a little bit with the link building as well. But mainly the keyword research and the writing portion is a big struggle right now.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. And let's see. And as far as the key, just to dig in a little bit on the keyword research, so is it like you're researching more than you need to, or you're not researching enough, or something like that?
Yeah, so I feel like it's such a, and that's one of the reasons why it's in my 6 to 12 month. I still hold on to it. Is I feel like it's such a creative process a lot of the times. So I actually end up spending too much time, I believe, and I kind of get analysis paralysis and go too far deep. But again, there's no real system that tells me, hey, you've done too much, or this is how you go about it. It's kind of just this, you
Gotcha.
know, just go for it kind of process.
So you don't know when to stop. It's like if you knew the 80/20 on it, and you knew you just once you hit a certain point, which I don't even know the criteria you're looking at, right? But once you hit a certain point of long
Right.
tails and a search volume, then you could stop, right? Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, it's cutting off on like, okay, if you get a certain number, just that's it. But it's just like I'm like, no, there's got to be more. But I'm probably just wasting my energy on that 80/20. I'm probably focusing on that 80 to get that baby result. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. All right. Let's see. I had some other things just to hone in on a few of the items. Um, So it sounds like you have a good handle on the process, like start to finish. I mean, why haven't you set up systems, at least for certain areas, thus far? Is a loaded question. So,
It is a loaded question. Yeah, and I was thinking about this earlier. Like when I'm not working and I just visualize the map of the niche site process, like it just seems so crystal clear. And then as soon as I sit down to work, it's like I just like everything gets tense, and I'm like, okay, where am I in this process? And I think with the moving, with having multiple sites, it gets there's a lot of moving pieces. But to answer your question directly, why haven't I done it? Um, it's been a struggle for me kind of my whole life where I just want to I feel like I just got to get it done now. It's that let me do it now, and basically just not having the patience to, kill, let's say, a week or 2 or 3 weeks, knowing that in the long run it's going to be huge, but just taking that sacrifice.
okay, got it. And then, so to read into kind of what you said, so you may sit down to work, and it may take you a few minutes to figure out what is the highest priority item that you need to work on that day. Is that
Yeah, that, and I also feel um, like I feel like I'm in my head. It seems like I should be able to do all these things really quickly, but then I keep looking at my to-do list and just it's like, how am I not getting these things done?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So
Okay. That sounds like, we could help, and I think one key thing is there's a lot of different stages in like building one of your sites and doing the link building, and there's just a lot of stuff. So I think what we'll do is focus in on one specific area, like you mentioned hiring VAs and the communications with them, so we could sort of set up a basically a process on. We don't have to start with that one, but basically you can figure out how you're going to, I guess, go to Odesk or wherever you hire them, and go through the HR process of putting a job post up, interviewing them, cutting people if you need to, and then like any communications that you have to do, we could just write a template for all of that stuff, so that if you need an article written, then you already have the template. If you need an article rewritten in certain areas, reworked, you can already have that done too. So you just fill in the blanks. And then if you need to fire someone, you can have that too. So then you don't have to think about that each time you write that email. So, okay. And then as far as what may be the most helpful right now for us to work on, what are your initial thoughts after a couple days of thinking? I know we kind of mentioned a couple of the points before, but right now today, what do you think you want to focus on first?
Um, I think knowing with the multiple sites going on in their own different stages, um, kind of knowing where my time needs to be spent and kind of getting rid of the inefficiencies and the bottlenecks, right? Um, so I'll have a site that's needing links to be put on, but I'm working on these two projects, so this site's a couple months behind on its timeline. Everything's just kind of out of place, and where I need to be putting my focus on a daily basis, weekly basis, would be huge.
Okay, got it. And then, well, that's good. That's a good answer since one of the things that we did work on the other day was basically every one of the tasks that need to be done for a site, at least, starting it to getting it into a maintenance mode. So basically, I sent you a list of what I had, and then your goal by now, by today, was to review the list, figure out what didn't need to be there in your process, you could eliminate it, and then anything that was missing, you of course added in. So without divulging any details of like your niche or anything specific, how did the process go? What did you think of the list, and just your overall impression of thinking of the process from start to finish?
So on one side of the coin, it's really nice to have my ideas out on paper in a logical flow. Um, but I guess there's still a bit of a struggle for me in the sense that I write some of these steps down, and there's not an exact process. Like it's sort of it feels like a creative process, so I still feels like there's some uncertainty in what I mean by it.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
When you say creative, you mean actually expand on that.
Sure. So the goal here is like we're trying to get a system in place, and I still fall back towards that. I'm trying to do the 80, a lot of work for that little result. So I'm trying to be a perfectionist in that I feel like every niche is unique. Like every problem that comes up along the way in that list is slightly unique. And so it's going to require, it needs to require like a new, kind of instructions and guidelines every single time. But there again is me doing the 80 to get that little bit where I just need to let go and just say, if you just cover this 20, the small amount, do these lists, it's going to be okay. But it's just, I guess that's what I meant by the creative process. Like I'm not letting go of that, I guess.
Okay. Gotcha.
I guess not create, maybe the wrong word for that, but that's
Control.
the feeling. Like I feel control. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So really, you may be, the perfectionist, I think, is probably the right way to look at it. Okay. So you went through it, and basically you're not sure how you can get rid of certain tasks. Is that right? Basically.
No, I think you can get rid of them. It's just the internal struggle of knowing. I don't know if it can ever be done at the exact level I want, unless you're willing to hire someone at a ridiculous high wage.
Gotcha. And then do you know like the level actually, can you give an example of one so we could just talk about it, and then it'll be like, what is it? And then do you actually know the level, like I said, the criteria of, X? Because if you can do that, then we could say, well, steps or level 1 to 4 makes sense, but level 5 to 7, that's too much. You're not getting an ROI on that. So just cut it. We'll just focus on the first 4 levels.
That's probably the case, but I will give you an example.
Okay.
So let's do one in the key, the article building, the working with writers. So just after you finish keyword research, right? So you may have your main keyword, and then you're compiling some long tail articles. So if it's a product review, right, it's really easy to have like a template. But some of these articles are unique. They're like how to do this, or maybe the top three products for this particular company, like just different morphs of it. So it's like
Hmm.
I feel like you're going to have to create a new template each time, which I guess that's okay, but that's so I
Okay.
just feel like, not every single page is the same, but there are ways you can make most of them
Right.
with a template. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess yeah, that's a good example because you're right. How many could there be? You know, if we did like a dozen templates, that'd probably cover the majority, right? Like most things could fit into like 10, right? Maybe.
Yep. I
O-
agree.
Okay. Okay. So this is a good example. Okay. And let's see. Now, I think the original question was what will help the most right now? And we ended up in a really narrow spot. The general answer was what?
The general answer is when I open up my laptop um, with, let's just a few niche sites going on in different areas. Where do I need to be putting my energy every day, or like on a weekly level and a monthly level? Kind of have that plan.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So I think, and yeah, sorry, I steered us in the wrong direction there for a second, but it was a good conversation. So I think what we'll probably do is like, we'll review the task list together, and then we'll probably put a link below the video, or maybe it'll have its own post. I think it may be pretty meaty to cover that information about the task list, and then from there we can essentially like map out sort of the time frames for each of the phases of that full process, and then we'll have to place each one of your sites into like where it's at and map it out.
Okay.
So the tools and the details of that, they're not important right now. It's just figuring out what we need to do. Plus, I don't think we know the tools and the details to actually make that happen. It sounds easy, just map each project to the process, but I bet it's more complicated than that. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
look at that and see if we could figure out how you can look at a monthly basis, take a quick snapshot. Hey, this week I need to get X, Y, and Z done for these sites. And then each week, probably you'll take a look and say, here's what I have going on for this particular project, niche site, it would be. And this other project I don't have anything going on, but the following week I do see that I need to do that. So you could kind of on a weekly basis look at what you're going to be working on. That's really what you're wanting, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. glad glad I caught that right. So okay, any questions for me right now, either on anything we talked about or on the task list?
um, I guess you were talking about software. So, do you have the idea in mind of like putting this task list into something, and then like creating all these interdependencies and
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for asking. So I use Asana quite a bit for projects with like multiple people, and I think it's really good for those kind of projects. Um, that said, after hearing what you want to do and understanding that you kind of want to have a calendar view, like a Gantt chart, so you could see how the other projects overlay with each other. There's a nice integration that Asana has with Google Calendar. So what we can do is take that full task list after you've edited it, reviewed it, modified it, and move it over to Asana. Just copy and paste it pretty straight up. We can use that particular project as a template, and then you'll be able to just copy that over to new projects, and then I'll have to look at the the mechanics of actually integrating with Google Docs and how, like if you'll have to integrate it for each project or once you link it up for a particular workspace, if it's just all integrated and you can simply color code it and know that, you know, red is one project and blue is another, and you could just see everything overlaid. And I think that'll be the best way, even if you never have your VAs work in Asana, just because you'll be able to see it and look at a calendar instead of looking at all the details within a project, which is not as intuitive. So that sound
Cool.
good?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So for next time, we'll probably look at the task list, and you've worked in Asana a little bit before, right?
Yeah, I know how basically it works.
Okay. So so yeah, we'll work on tightening up the task list, getting it over to Asana, and then we can, I guess, refine how that's going to link up to the calendar. And actually, now that we're talking, I think Asana introduced a calendar view and function into their interface. So we may not have to go offsite for that at all. It may be all integrated in there. I'm not sure how the dependencies link up, but that'll be important for, you know, uh, probably link building and stuff like that, where you want to make sure you do things in the right order. So,
Right.
all right. Any other questions or anything?
I'm good for right now. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Well, we'll catch up next time and talk to you later, Rob.
See you, Doug.